The year is turning, and with it comes a quiet question that refuses to be ignored. Not what will the world give you in 2026, but what will you finally give yourself? You have spent seasons proving your worth, shrinking your dreams, waiting for the right time, the right approval, the right miracle. Yet here you stand, still breathing, still hoping, still carrying a light no disappointment could extinguish. This is not a call to abandon love or duty. It is a reminder that before you pour yourself into the future, you must first choose yourself. Because when you do, you don't become selfish, you become whole. And a whole soul has the power to change everything. You were never meant to sit quietly on the sidelines of your own life, waiting to be selected, approved, or validated. Somewhere along the way, the world taught you to believe that your worth would be confirmed by applause, by acceptance, by someone else finally saying yes. But listen closely, your life was not designed to be a question mark. You are not here to audition for belonging. You are the answer that has been standing in the room all along, patient, powerful, and unseen only because you were taught to look away from yourself. For too long, you have delayed your becoming. You waited for the fear to disappear, for the timing to feel perfect, for someone to open a door and invite you in. Yet life does not reward waiting, it responds to courage. Permission does not arrive like a letter in the mail. It is claimed in the quiet moments when you decide that your dreams matter, even when your hands are trembling. The truth is simple and demanding at the same time. The moment you choose yourself, your life begins to move. Choosing yourself does not mean you stop caring for others. It means you stop abandoning yourself in the process. It means you no longer bend until you break just to be accepted. You stop apologizing for taking up space, for speaking your truth, for wanting more than survival. When you choose yourself, you say to the world, I will not be a race to make you comfortable. That decision may feel lonely at first, but it is the kind of loneliness that leads to freedom. There will be voices, some gentle, some harsh, that tell you to wait a little longer, to stay smaller, to be grateful for less. Those voices are echoes of fear, not prophecy. You were not born to live halfway. You were born with a pulse that beats for expansion, for expression, for meaning. Every time you silence that pulse, you betray the very miracle of your existence. And every time you honor it, you reclaim a piece of yourself that was never lost, only neglected. Understand this. You do not need to become someone else to be worthy. You do not need to fix every flaw or heal every wound before you step forward. Your scars are not evidence of weakness. They are proof that you survived, learned, and are still standing. The world does not need a perfect version of you. It needs the honest one, the one who shows up as they are and dares to grow out loud. So step forward, even if your voice shakes. Choose yourself, even if no one is clapping yet. Let 2026 be the year you stop asking, am I enough? And start declaring, I am the answer. When you choose yourself, you give others permission to do the same. And in that brave, unapologetic choice, you don't just change your life, you change the atmosphere around you. There was a time when you learned to quiet yourself, not because your thoughts were empty, but because the world felt too loud to hear you. You learned that being agreeable was safer than being honest, that silence could protect you from judgment, rejection, or misunderstanding. So you swallowed words that burned your tongue and softened truths that deserved to stand tall. But hear this clearly now. Silence was never your destiny. It was a shelter you built to survive, not a home you were meant to live in forever. Your voice carries the weight of your experiences, the rhythm of your joys, and the wisdom of every lesson you have endured. It is not too much, not too sharp, not too emotional. It is alive. And anything alive deserves space to breathe. When you withhold your voice, the world loses a perspective it cannot replace. No one else has walked your path, felt your heartbreaks, or risen from your struggles in the way you have. What you carry inside you is not an interruption, it is a contribution. There will be moments when your voice shakes, when your words do not come out perfectly shaped. Let them come anyway. Courage is not measured by eloquence, but by honesty. Speaking your truth does not mean you will always be understood. It means you refuse to disappear. And even when your voice trembles, it still has power. A trembling voice is often the sound of truth pushing past fear, refusing to be buried any longer. You do not need permission to speak, nor do you need to wait until you feel completely ready. Readiness is not a requirement for truth. Too many dreams have died in quiet rooms. Too many ideas have faded because their owners were taught to wait their turn. But life does not hand microphones only to the fearless. It hands them to those brave enough to step forward despite the fear. The room does not get to decide if your voice matters. You do. Understand that using your voice will change things. It may shift relationships, challenge expectations, and disrupt comfort. That is not failure, that is growth. When you speak honestly, you draw clear lines between who you are and who you pretend to be. Some will step away, but others will lean in, grateful that someone finally said what they were afraid to speak themselves. So in 2026, choose to let your voice live out loud. Speak in rooms that once intimidated you. Speak for the younger version of yourself who learned to stay quiet to survive. Speak even when your heart races and your palms sweat. Your voice deserves the room, not because it is perfect, but because it is yours. And when you finally allow it to rise, you don't just change the sound of the room, you change your place in the world. Some wounds do not bleed where the world can see them. They live quietly beneath smiles, beneath productivity, beneath the strength everyone praises. You learn to move forward without pausing, to function without feeling, to survive without asking who you were leaving behind in the process. Healing was postponed, labeled inconvenient, called weakness. But the truth you must face now is this. What you refuse to heal will continue to ask for your attention, not gently, but persistently, through exhaustion, bitterness, and silent ache. Healing is not a dramatic moment where everything suddenly makes sense. It is slow, uncomfortable, and often lonely work. It asks you to sit with memories you worked hard to outrun, to feel emotions you were told to be strong enough to ignore. It requires courage to admit that some of your pain did not come from your failures, but from the hands, systems, and moments that failed you. Choosing yourself means you stop minimizing that pain just because others have moved on or never acknowledged it. There is bravery in saying, "That hurt me," even when no apology ever came. There is power in recognizing that you were wounded while doing your best with what you knew at the time. Healing does not mean you rewrite the past. It means you stop letting the past rewrite you. When you tend to your wounds, you are not reopening them. You are finally cleaning them so they can close properly. Ignored pain does not disappear, it hardens. Healed pain teaches. You may fear that if you slow down to heal, everything will fall apart. But what if the opposite is true? What if healing is the very thing that allows you to stand without carrying the weight of yesterday on your shoulders? You are not weak for needing rest, reflection, or release. You are wise for recognizing that strength without healing eventually turns into survival, not living. Some days, healing will look like forgiveness. Other days, it will look like boundaries. Sometimes it will be tears, sometimes silence, sometimes choosing distance from what keeps reopening old scars. Healing is not linear, and it does not ask you to be perfect. It asks you to be honest, honest about what still hurts, honest about what you can no longer carry, honest about the version of yourself that deserves peace, not just endurance. As you move toward 2026, understand this. Choosing yourself does not mean pretending you were never hurt. It means refusing to let that hurt be the final author of your story. You are allowed to heal without explanation. You are allowed to grow without permission. And you are allowed to lay down burdens you were never meant to carry alone. Healing is courage in its quietest form. It is the decision to face yourself with compassion instead of judgment. And every time you choose to heal, you choose life, not as it was, not as it wounded you, but as it can still become. There comes a moment when you realize that people did not love your pain. They loved their access to it. They learned the sound of your struggle, grew familiar with your sacrifices, and mistook your endurance for obligation. You showed up wounded and were applauded for being strong, even when strength was costing you your peace. Somewhere along the way, your brokenness became expected, even convenient. But hear this clearly now. You do not owe anyone the version of you that was built to survive their expectations. Growth will make some people uncomfortable, not because you have changed for the worse, but because you have changed beyond what they could control. When you begin to heal, to set boundaries, to speak with clarity instead of apology, those who benefited from your silence may feel abandoned. Let them. You were never meant to stay fractured just so others could feel secure. Your evolution is not betrayal, it is truth unfolding. You are allowed to outgrow rooms that once applauded your suffering. You are allowed to stop explaining yourself to people who only listened when you were hurting. The version of you who overgave, overextended, and overforgave was not weak, but they were tired, and they deserve rest, not resurrection for public comfort. Becoming whole does not erase your past. It honors it by refusing to repeat unnecessary pain. Some will say you have changed as if growth were a crime. Let them say it. Change is evidence that you listened to your life when it whispered that something was wrong. You did not become distant, you became discerning. You did not become cold, you became clear. There is a difference between compassion and self-abandonment, and you are finally learning it. Understand this. People who only know how to love you in your brokenness do not know how to love you fully. They confuse access with intimacy and familiarity with entitlement. But you are not required to remain available in pieces. You are allowed to arrive whole, even if it means fewer invitations, quieter rooms, and smaller circles. Peace has a way of shrinking the crowd while expanding the soul. Choosing yourself in 2026 means you stop performing pain to be accepted. You stop reopening wounds just to prove how far you have come. Your healing does not need witnesses. Your growth does not need approval. You do not need to stay relatable through suffering when you are finally learning how to thrive. So stand in your becoming without guilt. Let your joy be unfamiliar if it must be. Let your strength look different now, softer, wiser, more protected. You are not abandoning anyone by choosing wholeness. You are simply refusing to live as a memory of who you were when you were still learning how to survive. You were taught to measure your worth by how much you could endure. Long days, restless nights, a tired body carrying heavy dreams. You called it dedication. You wore exhaustion like proof that you were trying hard enough, loving deeply enough, giving endlessly enough. But listen now with honesty and gentleness. Being tired is not the same as being fulfilled. Burning yourself out has never been the same as building a meaningful life. Rest is not quitting, it is listening. It is the moment you finally hear your body asking for mercy and your spirit asking for stillness. Rest is wisdom because it understands that nothing strong survives without care. Even the strongest rivers pause in quiet bends. Even the brightest stars burn steadily, not recklessly. You were never meant to be in constant motion. You were meant to breathe, to recover, to return to yourself. Somewhere along the way, rest was made to feel like laziness. Stillness was confused with weakness. You learned to apologize for needing a break, to explain your exhaustion as if it were a flaw. But needing rest does not mean you are failing. It means you are human. It means you have been carrying more than you were designed to hold alone. Wisdom is knowing when to stop pushing and start protecting your energy. In 2026, peace must become the new measure of success, not how busy you are, not how much you sacrifice, not how empty you feel at the end of the day, but how aligned you are with your own well-being. A rested mind thinks clearly. A rested heart loves honestly. A rested soul remembers why it started in the first place. When you are rested, you do not just work harder, you live better. Rest will feel uncomfortable at first. Guilt may rise, telling you that you should be doing more, proving more, becoming more. Let that guilt pass. It is the voice of old survival patterns, not the truth of who you are becoming. You are allowed to pause without losing your value. You are allowed to sit down without falling behind. Life does not punish those who rest, it renews them. Sometimes rest looks like sleep. Sometimes it looks like saying no. Sometimes it is silence, distance, or choosing not to explain yourself. Rest is not always doing nothing. It is doing what restores you instead of what drains you. It is choosing nourishment over noise, presence over pressure. It is trusting that you do not have to exhaust yourself to be worthy of good things. As you move forward, let rest be a declaration that your body is not a machine, that your mind deserves clarity, that your soul deserves peace. In a world that glorifies burnout, choosing rest is an act of courage. It is saying, I choose longevity over applause. I choose wholeness over hustle. In 2026, let exhaustion lose its shine. Let peace become your achievement. When you rest, you are not falling behind. You are returning to yourself. And that return is where your true strength lives. There was a moment, perhaps many moments, when you were told to lower your voice about what you wanted, to be realistic, to be practical, to want less, so life would be easier to manage and others would feel more comfortable around you. You learned to fold your dreams neatly, trimming their edges so they would fit into conversations, relationships, and expectations that were never designed to hold your full imagination. But dreams are not born from comfort. They are born from truth. And the truth is, what lives inside you did not arrive by accident. Your dreams are not too much just because they are big. They feel heavy only because you have been carrying them in silence. They feel impossible only because you have been taught to doubt the very instincts that were meant to guide you forward. Every dream that returns to you again and again is asking to be honored, not explained away. It is evidence of a capacity you already possess, not a burden you mistakenly picked up. Understand this deeply. Desire is not cruelty. Wanting more does not make you ungrateful for what you have. It means your spirit recognizes growth before your circumstances do. The same power that allows you to imagine a greater life is the power that allows you to build it, step by uncertain step. Dreams do not mock you, they reveal you. They show you what you are capable of becoming when fear no longer has the final word. You may worry that reaching for what you want will disappoint others, that your ambition will create distance, that your hunger for more will be misunderstood. Let it be misunderstood. You were not created to live as a smaller version of yourself just to preserve someone else's comfort. Your dreams may require courage, patience, and endurance, but they do not require permission. They only require your willingness to believe that you are enough to begin. There will be days when your dreams feel far away, when progress feels slow and doubt feels loud. On those days, remember that growth is rarely dramatic. It is quiet consistency. It is choosing again after disappointment, standing back up after fatigue, trusting yourself even when the path is unclear. Dreams are carried forward not by certainty, but by commitment. Do not confuse delay with denial. Some dreams need time to mature, to shape you as much as you shape them. What feels like waiting is often preparation. You are becoming stronger, wiser, more grounded, so that when the dream unfolds, it does not overwhelm you. You were built not just to imagine, but to sustain what you imagine. As you move into 2026, stop apologizing for wanting a life that excites you. Stop shrinking visions that were meant to stretch you. Your dreams are not asking you to be fearless. They are asking you to be faithful to yourself, to your growth, to the quiet voice inside you that knows there is more. You were built to carry your dreams, and they will carry you toward the life you were always meant to live. There is a quiet lie that settles into the heart over time, telling you that wanting more makes you ungrateful, that longing means you are dissatisfied, that dreaming beyond your current life is a form of arrogance. So you learn to thank life politely and then silence the part of you that wanted expansion. But gratitude and growth are not enemies. You can honor where you are and still feel called toward where you are meant to go. Wanting more does not erase appreciation, it deepens it. Your dreams did not arrive to tease you. They were not sent to mock your circumstances or highlight your limitations. They came because something in you is capable of holding them. Just as the seed recognizes the soil that can nurture it, your dreams recognized your spirit as a place where they could live. If they seem large, it is only because you have not yet grown into the full measure of yourself, and growth is exactly what they are here to invite. At times, you may feel overwhelmed by what you envision. The distance between where you stand and where you want to be can feel unbearable. In those moments, you may be tempted to shrink the dream instead of stretching yourself. But dreams are not meant to be carried all at once. They are carried one choice at a time, one brave step at a time, one refusal to give up at a time. You do not have to see the entire path to take the next step. There will be voices, some from outside, some from within, that call your dreams unrealistic, impractical, or impossible. Those voices speak from fear, not from truth. Fear always measures the future by the past, but dreams measure it by potential. What has never been done before is not a warning sign. It is an open door. The world has always changed because someone believed in something they could not yet prove. Remember this when doubt rises. Your dreams are not asking you to be perfect. They are asking you to be present, to keep showing up even when progress is slow, to keep believing even when results are quiet. Dreams grow in persistence, not perfection. They respond to consistency, to patience, to the courage to continue even when motivation fades. Sometimes your dreams will ask you to let go of old identities, familiar comforts, or versions of yourself that no longer fit. This can feel like loss, but it is really space being made. You cannot carry the future with hands full of the past. Letting go is not failure. It is trust. Trust that what you are becoming is worthy of what you are reaching for. As 2026 unfolds, allow yourself to want without shame. Let your dreams stand tall instead of folding themselves to fit small expectations. You were not built to carry less than you are capable of imagining. You were built to grow into it. And every time you choose to believe in your dreams, especially on the days they feel heavy, you are choosing yourself.